Oh my God, I think I'm going to die from lack of surprise. I'm going to have a heart attack and die from not being surprised. Good morning, nerds. It's a little early for me, but this story just dropped, and I had to jump on it to see how many facts I got wrong. It is I, the OGGM, your favorite idiot, coming to you live at 7:46 in the morning on a beautiful spring day here at Site B on the 8th day of February. Ash Wednesday was yesterday, and today is Fat Thursday, and then we will be going into Lent next week. Yay, monkeys. Wizards of the Coast dropped the ball and canceled the live-action Dragonlance TV show that was planned. Now, there are a lot of factors in this before you just get all angry. You can still be angry, but let's look at the factors first. A very emotional Joe Manganiello, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Joe, did a YouTube today. He's very emotional. It's hard to keep track of what he's saying. But yeah, they dropped it. HBO, Wizards of the Coast, they didn't want to continue with it. Now, there are other factors. The individual that Joe was in conversation with to bring the Dragonlance license over to HBO, he was shopping it to HBO. It's an individual that Joe had worked before during the True Blood stuff and other stuff. That individual is no longer there. So Joe's door into HBO was closed halfway. The second factor is, of course, that E1 was sold off last year. And E1 was Wizards Hasbro's movie production company. And I assure you, if you ever actually pay attention, they made a lot more movies than you think. Like, I think, I've found like over a dozen movies just randomly going through Amazon. I mean, they're not great movies. They're Roger Corman level, but they're still movies. But yeah, it was going to be made through Hasbro's in-house production company, E1. Hasbro sold off E1 at a loss, so that closed the door a little more. And then last year, as we know, Wizards, in their infinite wisdom, their infinite ability to carry forth the legacy of Gygax with love and support and positive energy and do everything that people wanted with Gygax. No, Scott, they didn't. No, I'm sorry. No, Wizards dropped the ball in their communication with Margaret and Tracy. Wizards dropped the ball in their creation of the board games. Wizards dropped the ball in the creation of the Dragonlance adventure that they put out last year. Margaret came out and vehemently denied it. Said, very clearly she had no communication. She did not approve. Tracy was like, wait, what the fuck is this? So that closed the door even more. Hasbro lost a lot of money last year. What a shock on fucking over the Dragonlance license. So Wizards of the Coast, in their infinite wisdom, their infinite ability to support the canon hardbacks, said, we don't think we can make any more money off of this, so we have no plans to do anything with it. Fuck you, Joe. Joe had put his heart and soul and energy for most of his creative life into this. So obviously he's very emotionally involved. People who have looked at his designs and his scripts claim that it's very, very good. I can assure you, based upon my inside source, who is somebody that Joe communicates with on a regular pace of time, yeah, it's from what little I know, it was a really good script for Dragonlance. Now, obviously, yeah, Dragonlance, people might be going, well, what the fuck? And Wizards might be going, well, what the fuck? Nobody knows who Dragonlance is anyways. Look how badly it sold. Look how badly the board game sold. Look how badly the new book sold. Look how badly the fans are reacting. Obviously, it's your fault, fans. Nobody wanted this. We didn't make any money last year off Dragonlance, so, why should we run with this obscure license that nobody remembers? Now, I would remind Wizards of the Coast of a similar story with another license that nobody gave a fuck about called Guardians of the Galaxy. But Marvel said, you know what, run with it. What's the worst thing that can happen? We break even. And Guardians of the Galaxy became one of the biggest parts of the MCU franchise and created memorable characters with Groot and Rocket and Mantis and Star-Lord and Gamora and Drax. We love the Guardians of the Galaxy universe. Disney built a fucking roller coaster based upon Guardians of the Galaxy. So Guardians of the Galaxy was huge. And they were like, Nobody knows who these characters are, but whatever. We'll run with it. It was a B movie that they never thought. So the Wizards could have gone, nobody knows who these characters are, but we'll run with it. What the fuck? I mean, maybe we break even. Look at that Guardians of the Galaxies thing. That made money. But instead, Wizards have told Joe, no lies, no bullshit. Joe's has no reason to pull the wool over our eyes on this, that we have no plans going forward with this. We're just going to take every bit of Dragonlance that we own, and we're going to wrap it up in a cardboard box, and we're going to seal that box with duct tape. Joe, are you watching? And then we're going to put that box in a safe, okay? We're going to close that safe. We're going to spin the combination. We're going to rip up the combination. Fuck, I don't even know what the combination was, Joe. Sorry. Hey, and Joe's going, I'll buy it. I'll buy it lock, stock, and barrel. What do you want? 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 8 million, my house? And Wizards of the Coast is going, no, we don't want to make money off of this, Joe. And now that this is in the site and we don't know the combination for this site, we have no plans of doing anything ever with Dragonlance, at least for the foreseeable future, 2027. So we're going to take this safe, and just to make sure we haven't rubbed enough salt in your wounds, Joe, we're going to put this safe in a rocket, click, and we're going to launch that rocket to the moon. Now, maybe we'll go to the moon and get that again someday. I don't know if we think we can make money off of it after 2027. But for now, we have no plans for it. So fuck you, Joe. So, yeah, I mean, I await to see how the Wizards of the Coast shills like Garreby and Chaucer and Willis are going to defend this and turn it into a good thing and say it's all the fans' fault. It's the OSR's fault. It's Joe's fault. Wizards did everything they could to make the canon hardback D&D 2024 canon Dragonlance books, but it didn't make them any money. And Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, well, screw them. They didn't know what to do with the license, right? So, yeah, find one positive thing out of this. Well, maybe Wizards of the Coast thinks they can do a better job than HBO and Joe. So they're just waiting for the right person. They're just waiting for Hasbro to buy a new entertainment company. They're not going to buy a new entertainment company. Why would they? It's easier just to have other people pay them to use their license. This was literally a reason where Hasbro could print money. It was zero sum. All Hasbro had to do with maybe come up with the upfront funds to whatever TV company that Joe managed to find it. But Joe made it very, very clear he was willing to pay for it. He was willing to fund it. And I'm sure there are other people out there who would have jumped on a Dragonlance Kickstarter. Everybody I went to college with in the Fantasy Gamers Guild at Humboldt State University were huge Dragonlance fans, and that was just a small population. Dragonlance was huge here in Southern California. And from what I've been told, the rest of the world. So I'm sure all those people who are now my age or younger who have disposable incomes, if Joe did a Kickstarter, would be like, yeah, I'll back that. Do I get some toys or fucking, I'm not even really a Dragonlance fan. Gasp. Fuck you, OGGM. What do you mean you don't like Dragonlance? But I read them. They're good books. I understand the love. I appreciate how passionate Joe was. I would have thrown in $20 for a Dragonlance Kickstarter. Joe, if you're listening, kickstart it. And convince you and Margaret and Tracy and everybody else could convince Wizards to let you buy it. You'd have to go to the moon to get the safe, but you could convince Wizards to let you buy it. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, as the rest of this year plays out and that Wizards of the Coast looking less and less likely that they're going to make Hasbro $1 billion this year, they might be more willing to go, you know what? Maybe we should just take the loss and sell it to this Joe guy. He looks like he's willing to pay for it and he can run with it. And it's one less heartbreak for us. And that's energy we could focus on something else, like producing the 2024 Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook before the end of the year. I don't know. I'm not a business guy, but I would think I see no loss in this, no variation of the scenario where Hasbro could have turned it to money. But here's the point where you say, but OGGM, you defend Hasbro all the time, and you find reasons for Hasbro doing things that say make sense to you. Like yesterday when you made the thing about the print books, and everybody misinterpreted what you said. And you're right. I will say the same thing I always say. Hasbro, like any other company, is doing what they could do to make the most amount of money with their licenses at this point in time in the financial and political and bureaucratic world that they're currently in. And if this was any other company, we probably wouldn't care. But it's Hasbro / Wizards of the Coast, and we are now Pavlovianly programmed to, whenever anything that's even vaguely associated with Wizards D&D, see it, find it, and respond to it negatively. And two, unlike every other company in the world, whenever Wizards of the Coast does something like this, it somehow ends up to be incredibly stupid and self-destructive. Somehow, from the, hey, we have Dragonlance, we should probably do something with it because it's a huge multi-million-dollar franchise, to, fuck it, we're never going to do anything with this. Screw you, Joe. Thanks for all the years of hard work. There's just, somehow it just went dumb. Wizards of the Coast is just innately self-destructive. They don't want to win, or they just don't fucking care. They know that no matter what they do, you guys are still going to buy D&D. And they're still going to get free press from idiots like me who spend 11 minutes talking about this story. But this is important. Now, I've put a link to the video and I've put a link to the article. And as I'm sure as the day progresses, more articles will be made available. And Joe will probably do a more coherent interview. This one is obviously very scattered. He's just sort of, shotgunning facts. And he's very emotional. You can tell by the way he's fidgeting that, he's trying to hold it together. He's very angry. He's very upset. This was a huge passion project for him, so much to the point that he did so much work for it, taking it to producers, taking it to agents, showing it to people in the industry, showing it, shopping it around Hollywood, trying to reestablish that connection that he had with Hasbro that he had since True Blood. Remember, he was in True Blood and all that other stuff. So much stuff that he did. That was all a passion project. That was 100% money out of his pocket. And he was willing to take hard-earned Joe Manganiello money and go, here, I will buy it from you, Wizards. And I'm sure Tracy and Margot will chip in. And I could probably do a Kickstarter. And Wizards, according to Joe and according to everything we're reading, pretty much said, no, fuck you, fuck the fans, fuck Dragonlance. We lost money last year on this license, so we have no plans to do anything with it. And I'm sure push comes to shove, Wizards will blame Tracy and Margaret for not making money off of it. They'll blame the fans for not buying it. They'll blame people who were upset about the Kender and the racism that the Kender portrayed, and that's why it failed, because they didn't address the innate issues of the problematic Kender and the problematic Gully Dwarves the way they should, and that's their fault, and that's our fault for being too sensitive. Fuck, I'm sure people will find a way to make it that what Wizards of the Coast is doing is a good thing, and that Joe's, it's Joe's fault. It's the fucking OSR's fault, blah, blah, blah. Grumpy McGrump in California constantly bad-mouthing Dragonlance. It's his fault. Yeah, I'm sure you people will find a way to spin it, but there is no way to spin it. Okay, there is no way to spin it. Hasbro was handed a golden goose, very little work, 100% reward, and they fucked it. And you got to wonder if they just did it on purpose. If it just was a huge fuck you to the fans, if it was just a huge fuck you to Tracy and Margaret, if it was just a huge fuck you to Joe, or if they really thought, we lost the bank on E1. We lost the bank on the franchise last year. We don't know what we're doing, but that's not our fault. So instead of farming it out to somebody who does know what they're doing and making money off of it in the future, we're going to, once again, put it in that cardboard box, put that cardboard box into a safe, close that safe, put that safe into a rocket ship, make sure Joe's watching, and then shoot that rocket ship to the moon, because we have no further plans for the Dragonlance license, at least until 2027. So please tell me how I'm wrong. Please find the positive in this. Go ahead. Show me how I'm wrong. You went the first. I've been talking now. This doesn't come as a surprise to me. I mean, when they announced it, I was like, no, they're not. They're not going to. They might be saying they're going to do something with it, but it's Wizards, and they're not. They're going to fuck it up like everything else. Anybody else, I give them the benefit of the doubt, but it's Wizards, and Wizards just can't help but fucking things up, whether it's an intentional or accidental. It's just the second any idea leaves the Wizards of the Coast hive mind, it is just innately dumb. I'm sorry, it's just dumb. They're just a horrible business, and yet they just keep failing forward. Wizards, this is another example of failing forward, because no matter how stupid this is, it's getting a ton of free press, and Wizards will find some way to fail forward and be like, oh, blah, blah, Wizards of the Coast, blah, 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 2024 D&D, blah, 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 diversity. But tell me I'm wrong. What do I know? Like I said, I'm not a Dragonlance fan. So I'm obviously a horrible person. So tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm misinterpreting this. Tell me how Hasbro, is actually doing a good thing. I open it to your input, guys. I'm just one man with a screwdriver and a box, traveling around, helping out when he can't. No, wait, that's the doctor. I'm just an idiot with a microphone and a camera. So let me know what you're thinking. I'm sure we will talk about this more as the day progresses. I am the OG GM. If you appreciate the nonsense that's coming out of my mouth, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Shout out to Joe Manganiello, wherever he is. Hey, Joe, support me. I'll talk to you later.